Welcome to another episode of our show. On this week, our new retro games reviews begin with Cyber Wraith for the ZX Spectrum, an amazing platform shooter by Sisko-MSX, followed by another great Amiga arcade port by Jotd with Double Dragon AGA. Our third review is for the cute, family-friendly Commodore 64 game Duckling Rescue, and we conclude our new games reviews with Amstrad GX, an incredible conversion of the classic arcade for the Amstrad GX4000 console and the CPC Plus range. Talking of Amstrad, our hardware review tests the very useful CPC Flash Cartridge for the GX4000 console and the CPC Plus Systems. Our DOS Vault packs quite a punch this week with the absolutely brilliant Blight Knight, an action RPG by NPJ Arcade, and remembers the Apogee lesser-known hit Realms of Chaos. In our retro adventures, we playtest and enjoy the Sierra Online homage made by Ironhide 9075, College Quest. In our retrospect, we bring back to light another scary and dark adventure game by Cyber Dreams, Harlan Elisson's I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. Finally, our history lesson looks back to the stories of the failed upgrades of famous and successful retro computers. Well, come on, let's get this show started. Welcome to our new games review section, and we begin with the amazing Cyber Wraith by Sisko-MSX. This is a great shoot-'em-up platformer for the ZX Spectrum with very distinct features that almost make it a survival game as well. The graphics of the game are great, although of course the sprites are in black and white, so as to avoid the famous color clash. You have to collect specific cores in order to activate a spaceship and escape from this planet you're trapped into. The animation of the characters is also very well done. Your character gets bored easily, so if you won't do anything for a couple of seconds, he will fall asleep. There is some great in-game tunes, and the gameplay is quite interesting with, like we said at the beginning, survival elements, especially through the inventory management. The controls are quite good, but in some tight spaces the jump routine, when you try to jump and crawl left or right on some platform, doesn't always work. It's kind of ineffective. Sometimes, if it is a moving platform, it's rather suggested you stand in the corner of the platform and try to walk. Otherwise, just keep on trying. There are some difficulty spikes throughout the game. Some of the stages you enter are a bit tougher than the others, but it doesn't happen so often, so it's nothing to be bothered about or something that messes up the gameplay. This is still a quite amazing game. We must mention also the sound effects. The game has music and sound effects at the same time in-game, and this is always a plus for any game. In some stages you will have to kill all enemies, or almost all. Some stationary enemies are indestructible in order to open some doors. Now, let's see the rankings, with the graphics receiving a 9. The controls get an 8. The music and the sound effects a 9.1. And the gameplay an 8.8, for a total of 8.7. This is a good, solid platform shooter that needs just a little refinement on controls and gameplay balance to reach that top position that it really deserves to. Even as it is, this is a great offering, and we suggest you definitely give it a go. It's addictive, it's fun, and it's one of the better games on the ZX Spectrum platform. And here we are again with another offering by Jotd 666, or I think it's time we start calling him with his name, Jean-François Fabre. Now, he is known for his arcade perfect ports, especially on the Amiga. This is another one. This is the famous Double Dragon, the grandfather on the arcades, at least, of the beat-em-up genre. It comes with arcade perfect graphics, great animation that includes all the frames. All the frames are intact from the original. The graphics are for, and the game is for AGA only Amigas, because it makes use of the external palette to bring the same colors of the arcade. Honestly, look at these pictures. It's the same game. The music, the soundtrack, is awesome, and it's faithful to the arcade as well, with the sound effects also faithfully adapted. The controls are perfect, and all the moves are included in the game. This is the Beta 3 version of the game. It's not the final, and has a significant slowdown when 3 or above enemies, even 2 enemies sometimes, are on the screen at the same time. Of course, as a beta version, this is not something that should count as a reason to blame the game, because it's still under testing. So, the gameplay is the same addictive, classic formula of Double Dragon. If you like the original game, this is heaven on Amiga. Let's see the rankings, and the graphics receive a 9.3. The controls, a 9. The music and sound effects, a 9 as well. And the gameplay, an 8.7, for a total score of 9. Well, what is left to say for Double Dragon? It's a classic beat-em-up game. It opened up the road and set the standards for all the beat-em-ups to follow. This one, along with Renegade, are truly the creators, let's say, of the genre. You will notice that the game loads in between missions or grand events. Again, this is a beta version, and it's nothing too terrible or that harasses the gameplay too much. All we can say is that if this is the beta version of the game, we really can't wait for the final version, because this is already arcade perfect. And to quote the Monty Pythons, and now for something completely different. This is Duckling Rescue by JLM Cell for Commodore 64. This is a family-friendly game and targeted mostly at younger audiences. You play as a teenage duck, and you have to find your younger siblings and bring them back to your papa. Now, the graphics of the game are really cute, with very good animation. The premise of the game is simple, but the gameplay itself, it's interesting. It's not just a kid's game. The controls are really tight and responsive. This is a nice little game, and it has a nice little tune. Its sound effects are also simple, but very well made. The game is rather easy, as expected. There is no life system. You lose if you touch one of the enemies that are nothing too creepy or scary. There are no monsters in this game, just ladybugs and bees and stuff like that. Remember, this is a family-friendly game targeted mostly at kids, mainly at kids. So that's to be expected. But it's more than just a kids game. It's very well made, and I believe that if you give it a go, you will also find it addictive. Now, the rankings of the game are as follows. The graphics receive an 8.7. The controls of the game, a 9.1. The music and the sound effects, an 8. And the gameplay, an 8 as well. The total score is 8.5. This is a great game to introduce your kids to the magic of retro gaming and in video games in general. It's been made with kids in mind. It's been made, I believe, with the idea that it's a game that the parent can play along with the kid to help it whenever it's needed, and eventually let it, well, spread his wings or her wings and fly on its own, just to quote the whole premise of the game. On its own, it's a very good platform game, and I suggest you give it a go, even if you're not a parent. It's a very well-made experience. Our last review for this week is another remake. It's Amstrad GX by Anthony Flack. Well, it's a classic game that's been remade for the Plus range of Amstrad and the GX console. The graphics and the animation are near arcade perfect. It shows this game what a lost opportunity the Plus range and the GX4000 was because of their late release. There is a great timeless tune of the game and faithful sound effects. The controls are perfect and tightly adapted. This is a tough game as always, but it's also a classic game. If you were a fan of the arcade, you will find the entirety of its magic here. You won't believe sometimes that this is running on an Amstrad machine. It really looks like the Plus range was made with greatness in mind, but unfortunately it came out on the market way too late, leading to it to be mostly ignored as the world had moved on at that period to the 16-bit platforms. Now, the rankings of the game are as follows. The graphics receive a 9.1. The controls of the game, a 9.2. The music and the sound effects, a 9. And the gameplay, an 8.9. For a total score of 9. This is one of the best arcade ports on any Amstrad machine or in general of the Amstrad arcade game. It really shows what an amazing potential the Amstrad CPC Plus range and the GX4000 console had. But since history turned out differently, this is a good opportunity to enjoy quality gameplay in a perfect port for the beloved 8-bit. Welcome to another hardware review. Today we are going to show you something a bit outside our normals. This is the Amstrad GX4000, one of the most unlucky, I would say, consoles in the history of video games. It's not that it was a bad console, that the timing of Amstrad was terrible. The same thing goes for their older siblings, or the most sophisticated siblings, the Amstrad CPC Plus line. This was effectively an Amstrad 6128 Plus, encased in a, well, quite pretty, I think, box, with just the joystick ports, some outputs, a very weird dial-up, I think, connection here, speakers or headphones, and only a SCART output for the signal, which was, to be honest, quite advanced at the time. Now, today we are inspecting the CPC Plus Cartridge. This is a bit more sophisticated, a bit more technical than our usual flash cards. It demands some sort of technical expertise on your behalf. We're going to see how this works. We're going to show you all the components necessary in order to program it. And, well, I can say that this is a very, very good solution for this device. There are not many solutions out there. This is a console mostly ignored, even if it's sought after by collectors. Let's go see how to make this work, and then we'll come back to sum up our findings and talk about it in more detail. Alright, now, first things first, you will need an EEPROM programmer. You can find a cheap one on the internet, on websites like, well, I'm not going to mention names for, specific reasons, but it's very easy to attain one. You need a standard EEPROM EEPROM programmer to help you reprogram flash, let's say, the EEPROM chip. Now, this is one of these. You have to unhook the EEPROM from here. Notice the fact that here, if we can show it a bit on the camera, is the beginning, the first pins for the EEPROM. You need to place it correctly. It's on the right side of the board, right? And then we plug it here. Also, there is an indication here from where it starts, and it says it starts from here. Be careful when placing it, or you might bend the pins. All right, this is it. It's safe in place. If you've done this correctly, it won't budge. Now, we'll go and show you the software, how to program it, and then we'll go and try it out. All right, now depending on the EEPROM programmer you have, you're going to have a different software. One of the most popular for these cheap ones is the X2 Pro that we're using here. Now, let me show you how to begin. Well, initially you need to read from the EEPROM of the cartridge, but let's take it out from the top. You need to select the specific EEPROM chip. So these devices use this model, this specific model. You can see it here. It's from SSD, so you must choose the correct EEPROM chip. And then, of course, go and select. Now, I've already done this, so we go and read the contents. You wait. It was successful, as you can see, and we go back. Now, we're going to load the game that we want. I'm gonna pick load, browse, and let's choose a game. Let's see, one I haven't tried. No, let's see which one. I think I'll go with Dick Tracy. I think I haven't played this version of Dick Tracy. Maybe it's better, maybe it's not, I don't know. Okay. And then let's go program it. You see it's been loaded. Bin file, always bin files. So, programming, and It's not gonna take a lot of time, you just have to be a little bit patient. But there, it was successful. So, back, and that's the whole process. It's done, and let's go see if it works now. Now, before we check our game on screen, I need to show you how to plug this in. Be a little careful. The Amstrad GX4000 is actually a pretty smartly designed console. It will not allow you to plug the cartridge the wrong way. So, if you do it right, you go somewhere there and that's it. It just goes easily. If you see resistance, don't push it. If you put it in the wrong way, it still has an extra safety. This button is the on button. It will not turn on, it will be blocked if the cartridge is not properly inserted. Okay, having said that, let's go check out the cartridge and what we did. Alright, now let's turn on our GX console. As you can see, let's choose FX sound just because it's a bit more quiet. We'll wait for the game to load. I don't even know if it's a good game. Yeah, it doesn't look too good. It actually looks terrible, but that's the whole point is to test the cartridge. Well, this guy bucks quite a punch. Oh my god, that's a horrible game. That is a horrible game, but, well, you know. Well, looks like I don't know how to shoot. Anyway, this is a terrible game, but it's working. As you can see, the whole process was successful, and now we can enjoy our games. Okay, let's go back, sum up our findings, and conclude of whether this cartridge is worth it or not. Now, as you saw, there's quite a lot of work needed to make this function, but it's really worth it because this is an interesting console. If you have one in your collection and you need to run backups of your ROMs, let's be honest, there's just one more option out there for this console. I'll try to get my hands on it and review it somewhere in the future, sometime in the future, but for now, this is a cheap and effective solution. It works. Yes, it needs one game at a time to be programmed in the cartridge, but it works flawlessly. Once you do it the first time, you'll see that it's not that hard. I mean, it does sound scary, but it's really not. There's not much else to say. I really think it's worth your time. I really think it's worth the cost. If you were a lucky owner of an Amstrad GX4000, I definitely recommend this cartridge. It's an easy solution. All you need to do is just follow the steps we've shown you, read the manual carefully, inspect the EPROM you have, and you'll be on your way to play your favorite games. So, yes, it is recommended, but yes, you need to be a little bit careful and to have or attain some sort of technical expertise. Until the next time, have a good one. Welcome to the DOS Vault, and this is Blight Knight by NPJ Arcade. This is a game that was made for the NES Jam 2026 competition. There is a story that you can see in the intro about a blight that's striking the land, and our hero must face the evil behind it to save the land. The aesthetics of the game are, of course, for a look closer to the NES. If this came out for NES in 1988, it would be one of the most impressive games on that console. The graphics have a dark style and amazing animation. They're also moody, and, well, the colors are appropriate for the atmosphere. And for the story of the game, of course. There is an amazing scrolling technique implemented in the game that's perfectly bound to the gameplay itself. Each stage has its own soundtrack, which is quite impressive. Also, the boss fights have their own soundtrack. And let me tell you, there are some great, really great boss fights that will need you to find the proper strategy if you want to defeat the big baddies. The sound effects are also equally impressive with the rest of the game. The controls are great and simple at the same time and will give you no trouble whatsoever. The gameplay of the game is very, very addictive, and the difficulty is extremely balanced. This is an amazing game. Now, the rankings of the games are as follows. The graphics receive a 9.4. The controls of the game, a 9.1. The music and the sound effects, a 9.3. And the gameplay, a 9.2, for a total score of 9.3. And it's been quite some time since this happened on our show. The title of the Game of the Week. Blight Knight is simply an amazing game that you will find, I believe, as enticing and addictive as we did. It will become one of your favorites go-to games, and definitely one of the best games that are reminiscent of that wonderful NES era. I hope the creator makes also an original NES version, if that is even technically possible. Either way, this is one of the greatest games with the NES style, and you should definitely try it. It's simply amazing. There weren't many good platform games for the MS-DOS back in the day, so most gamers said, thank God for Apogee. This is Realms of Chaos, and it's a platform game with everything good that you could find on an Amiga or Atari ST platform game. Now, the story of the game is not the star of the case, it's kind of indifferent, truly, you know, bad guy and two heroes. The graphics are very good for the VGA era that they represented. They have great colors, a great palette, and very good animation. The design of the stages are quite good, with some really, really great areas. And later stages are not linear as far as exploration is concerned, giving a special depth to the gameplay. The game has two characters to control with different weapons and game style. One is, the female is more of a ranged warrior, casting spells, whilst the male warrior is more of a close combat melee fighter. But, take note, there is only one life for both of them. I don't mean that you lose entirely after you lose one life, I just mean that if one of the characters dies, both characters die at the same time and you go back to the checkpoint. The controls are great, with no collision detection problems whatsoever. The music is good, but I think that based on other games from that time, it could have been a bit better. Not the quality of the sound and the game theme, but mostly the synthesis itself. The sound effects are on a better level than the music itself. Now, the rankings of the game are as follows. The graphics receive a 9. The controls of the game, a 9 as well. The music and the sound effects, a 7. And the gameplay, an 8.8, for a total score of 8.5. Realms of Chaos is a lesser-known game by Apogee, but still it is very well made, with the trademark style of Apogee software, and it's a very good game killer. Back in the day, what could have been considered amongst the best of the genre. Nowadays, with all the games we have discovered by looking back, it's still a good offering if you want to remember how the platform games were in the DOS era. I suggest you give it a go and make up your mind on your own. As for our suggestion, it is a quite good game that will offer you a lot of fun. Our first game in our retro adventures is College Quest by Ironhide 1975. This is a classic first era Sierra presentation. Seriously, it is a game that's reminiscent of the first age, let's say, of Sierra games, you know, the Apple II, Commodore 64 kind of games. It has a type of graphics that it is indeed closer to the Commodore 64 palette and feeling. The graphics are quite good. There are some techniques used sometimes, like, I don't know, it seems like blurring or anti-aliasing of the character. I don't know if that makes it better or just make it stand out a bit as weird. But the graphics are well painted and a lot of effort has been put into them. There is a good soundtrack that accompanies the game. Of course, there are no sound effects, this is an adventure game after all. The user interface is very easy to use. It's closer to later games of Sierra. It's a point-and-click interface, in fact, using specific icons that you can switch amongst them with the right click. But there are dialogue options to choose, so I guess it's a mix and match. The story is interesting and it has a quirky sense of humor. It does start as a typical college guy's adventures, but in truth it does take a weird and mysterious, almost dark twist at a certain point. This makes the game really more interesting than I thought it would be. The puzzles of the game are very good, and the whole game has a very nice nostalgia feeling. Now, the graphics of the game receive an 8. The puzzles of the game, a 9. The music and the sound effects, an 8.8. And the controls of the game and the gameplay, a 9 as well, for a total of 8.7. College Quest is a wonderful throwback to the classic adventure game genre days. It's really worth your time, it's a very solid effort, and I believe that it's gonna put a smile on your face, your brain to start ticking, and give you some hours of classic entertainment. Now this is another adventure game from Cyber Dreams, like Darkseid we've seen last week. This is I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, based on a series of stories by the great, the brilliant Harlan Elisson. This is a very dark and adult-themed adventure game. In the future, the Americans, the Chinese and the Russians have created supercomputers to wage global war, until the American computer absorbed the other two, waged war on humanity and wiped it out, except for 5 humans that he keeps on torturing for all eternity. This is definitely not a game for kids or even teenagers because of the harsh and delicate matters that it negotiates, including suicide, rape and other stuff, not for kid or teen eyes. The graphics are dark and gritty, but of great quality and animation. The environments are grim and nightmarish. The user interface is very easy to get accustomed to and very intuitive. The story concludes with multiple endings. Depending on your actions and the characters you choose, you get to play each one of the 5 different characters.
My stomach's growling.
The puzzles of the game are really great and very, very smart. Every choice you make in the game has consequences that affect the ending and the story itself, and always puts you in some sort of ethical, usually nightmarish dilemma. The music and speech of the game are of the highest possible quality, with all the voiceovers done by professional actors that really get into the part. Now, the rankings of the game are as follows. The graphics receive 9.2. The puzzles of the game, 9. The music and sound effects, 9.1. And the controls and gameplay, a 9.1 as well, for a total score of 9.1. This is an adult-themed, dark gem of a game. I suggest you read the stories that inspired it and replay or play the game in case you haven't done so in the past. It's not just an adventure game, this is a life-altering experience. I definitely recommend you play this game. You will remember me. This is not just an adventure game. This is a masterpiece.
Oh, Anne, you little Dickens. As an interior decorator, kiddo, don't give up your day job.
There were some systems in computer history that, even though they gave us all we ever wanted as an upgrade for our favorite computers, they were too late to the party to save the day. This is the story of the most successful upgraded failures in retro systems. We begin with the Amstrad CPC Plus range. Alan Sugar's CPC line of computers managed to achieve more than what he had as an initial goal. Realizing when he released the first CPC line, this 464 back in 1984, that the cards were dealt already for the first and second spot on the market, with Sinclair holding the first and Commodore battling it out with Acorn for the second, he went straight for the third spot. Little did he know that by 1986, both the first and the second spot, with Commodore a close third, would be his. Acorn collapsed by the election failure and backed out from the market, focusing on the BBC range and preparing the next-gen CPU, amongst rumors of an Olivetti buyout. Sinclair paid the price of Sir Clive's insistence on supporting quirky inventions and Rust systems, with Amstrad buying out the company and all the rights of the famous ZX Spectrum line. Thus, in mid-1986, Amstrad controlled 85% of the UK market and approximately 42% of the entire European. The CPC range was rising in sales, although in all honesty, it was the Spectrum systems that kept providing Amstrad with a steady flow of cash, up until 1988, that the 16-bit generation started to be firmly established. During that period, Alan Sugar realized that his systems needed a boost if they were to remain competitive, but Amstrad seemed to lack the knowledge and infrastructure to develop and sell a 16-bit home system, as it was already spread thin with the PCW line as well, that was quickly becoming a sleeper hit. Messing with the revered ZX Spectrum seemed like the way to infuriate the fanatics of the line, so the CPC range was chosen for an upgrade. The goal was to create a system that, whilst retaining the 8-bit architecture, could look at the 16-bit competition in the eyes fearlessly. The basic characteristics were left untouched. A Zilog Z80A CPU at 4 MHz, 128 KB RAM, and the old 3-inch floppy disk drive or the integrated tape recorder for the 464 model. But, and here is where it gets interesting, borrowing heavily from the Amiga generation, the Motorola 6845 chip that was responsible for the video display and the custom gate array that handled the pixel display output were combined in an upgraded ASIC, an application-specific integrated circuit, to provide a series of significantly boosted characteristics. The color palette was upgraded from 27 colors to 4096, with the colors on the screen simultaneously raised from 16 to 32. Hardware-supported parallax scrolling, hardware sprite support, split-screen function, and besides the 3 standard resolution modes of 160 by 200, 320 by 200, and 640 by 200, a new mode was implemented that, even though it required a bit of technical expertise, it raised total resolution to 768 by 272. The sound was upgraded as well, with the introduction of a built-in DMA that could automatically fetch sound registers from memory, lightening up the burden from the CPU. The final touch? A console-like approach to the system, with the inclusion of a cartridge port that could hold up to 512 kilobytes of data to provide instant loading times. The CPC case was redesigned with colors and looks reminiscent of the 16-bit competitors in a admittedly good-looking new shell. The CPC Plus range went on sale in September 1990 across Europe, and it flopped badly. Even though Amstrad, to force users' hand, quietly stopped production of the original models and quietly sold out the stock, the system still wouldn't take off. Along with the also too little too late GX4000 console, the system was seen as a desperate move by Amstrad to remain relative or to infiltrate a market well beyond their reach, offering characteristics found in 16-bit systems, but less, and with a very limited library of games that could make use of them, and combined with a very high price tag of £399 for the 6128 Plus model, the same price for an Amiga 500 at the time, killed off any chance the system had on the market. By mid-1992, the CPC Plus range was discontinued altogether, with Amstrad focusing on the PCW series and selling off the ZX Spectrum Plus 2 and Plus 3 stock, leaving the home computer market finally in 1993. Let's look at the Acorn Electron we mentioned earlier. Chris Carey's company successfully grabbed the BBC contract right under Sir Clive Sinclair's nose in 1981 and managed to become a major competitor on the market. But there was an area, to be honest, the most profitable area of the market, that still eluded them, held tight by their main competitor, ZX Spectrum, the games market. ZX Spectrum, thanks to its simple architecture, relatively high resolution and speed, and combined with a very low price, had managed to become the most popular gaming platform of the early 80s giving birth practically to the entire European software and computer market. Acorn may have had the privilege of being a reputed company in the educational and business markets, but their BBC computer was left far behind as an entertainment platform thanks to a very high price tag and the educational connection. So, in the early 1982, Acorn set out by Chris's desire to design and sell a system that was targeting straight at ZX Spectrum's heart. The Acorn Electron came out in August 25, 1983, after a series of delays. Based on a variation of the 6502 found on the BBC Micro, the MOS 6502A at 2 MHz, 32 KB of RAM, and a custom ULA chip. It seemed like the hardware was on the right track. Capable of 320 by 256 with a maximum of 8 colors on screen, or 640 by 256 with 2 colors, and both 40 and 80 column text modes, the system could look spec in the eyes. The sound was a 1 sound channel plus 1 noise generation coming out of an integrated speaker, but Spectrum's sound was nothing to write home about either. The aforementioned ULA was supposed to be the unique system characteristic that would give the computer an edge over the competition, helping the system to be a circuit board with only 12 chips, cut costs significantly, allowing Electron to launch at £199, a price that sure raised some eyebrows in Sinclair. All this inside a sleek, beautiful light grey with tons of green case and one of the best full-moving typewriter keyboards in 8-bit history. But it was that ULA, along with the sacrifices made for the low cost, that damned the machine to oblivion. The ULA chip presented a challenge during production, with extremely high failure rates, forcing Acorn to switch factories in Hong Kong, causing massive delays to production. The missing ports compared to the BBC Micro and their replacement with a general-purpose edge connector was seen as a double-edged knife from a press and users alike, with some noting that it was a step forward from the proprietary BBC ports, and others saying that if you bought the necessary equipment to bring the system to the same level of connectivity with the BBC, meaning the +1 and +2 peripherals, that would bring the total cost in line and even above that of the BBC's. All the production problems mentioned earlier led Acorn, even though demand far surpassed 250,000 units, to miss the Christmas season of 1983, with only 25,000 units available. By the time the situation was rectified, users deposited their cash once again to Sinclair's or Commodore's offerings, leaving Acorn with warehouses filled with unsold electrons and Acorn on the brink of destruction, discounting them through high street chains at £99 to rebound some damages. Yet, even the mighty mess up sometimes, Sinclair was high on popularity and profits during the late 1982 period. Sinclair Research Limited, thanks in no small part to the ZX Spectrum 48K success, had grown from a £100,000 company to one with a £54.53 million turnover and £13.80 million profits. Sir Clive Sinclair had big plans for 1983. Listening to the users' demands and complaints about his star system, he decided to offer them exactly what they demanded, with the problem being the exactly point. One of the most pressing matters for the ZX Spectrum fans was the almost impossible to use professionally rubber keyboard, making programming in the Specky an excruciating situation. Also, the first component that was replaced was the PSU, not because of high faulty rates, but because of the lack of an on-off and reset button, forcing the users to pull the power plug from the computer more than 50 times a day, eventually causing damage to the cable. Finally, although the system's design was no doubt intuitive as far as the design itself is concerned, its practicality when using the system for prolonged periods was doubtful, with the computer's small case making it difficult to work for hours upon hours for an adult. Of course, everyone thought that the major issues were implied. You know, no more color class, better sound of the annoying beeper, upgraded memory, etc. Well, remember the exactly problem we mentioned earlier? Sinclair chose to change all the things he considered pressing matters when expressed by the users and chose to ignore the rest. The ZX Spectrum Plus was the most unupgraded upgrade ever. It was effectively a ZX Spectrum 48K enclosed in a new bigger case with a plastic real as advertised keyboard that still used a membrane beneath the case, a reset button, 2 little support stands on its side, and well, that's about it. Dubbed the ZX Spectrum Plus, it retailed at £179.95, a high price considering that it was effectively the very same system that was sold for a year and a half now. Users could already find new cases including a full-moving typewriter keyboard on a third-party company, with very low prices. There were literally hundreds of little gadgets that gave the good old Specky an on-off and reset switch, ranging from fancy solutions all the way to desk light switches reused for the purpose in a clever do-it-yourself move. Sinclair just offered the same computer with aftermarket ideas of third companies for a higher price tag with no actual hardware improvements at all. No wonder Spectrum Plus was the first nail in Sinclair's financial coffin. But don't think for a moment that Commodore or Atari didn't have their mishaps too. Let's take a closer look at the Amiga 600 and Atari STE debacles. Even though Amiga was the absolute winner of 16-bit computer wars, it was obvious that it was the machine that raised the company high and not the other way around. Commodore's strategic planning was not the same since Jack Tramiel was ousted from his company, and with him on the other side, pressure was always on for the company. Even though it was obvious that the market demanded more power and upgraded graphical systems, with the coming of early pseudo 3D graphics appearing far on the horizon, Commodore started launching a series of mind-boggling upgrades that would eventually take down the company. Starting with the kind of necessary Amiga 500 Plus, it would seem initially that the company was on the right track, but what followed was a catastrophe of epic proportions. Established in the late 80s with early 90s as the absolute gaming machine, thanks in large part to Commodore UK's David Pleasant's strategies, people were expecting the Amiga platform to be on the edge of the technological advancements. Commodore US's Irving Gould insisting on presenting the Amiga as a professional platform, even though it was obvious that that area was largely dominated by the PCs. Eventually, engineers managed to slip past a project called Amiga 300, meant to compete with the Mega Drive Genesis and Super NES consoles. Effectively a cut-down, low-cost, small form-factor Amiga, the 300 was meant to compete straight up with the consoles, and with a huge user base already established, it could at least minimize the danger posed by them. This was until Irving Gould and the rest of Commodore US's administration got involved, demanding a redesign of the system, believing that it would be seen as a cutting-edge, more convenient and less bulky Amiga 500 Plus. They installed an IDE controller, PCMCIA port, raising costs significantly. Given that the initial design was for a small form-factor system, there was no numeric keypad, essential for a series of professional applications. Also, the glue-on technique for the motherboard and chipsets was what used to cut down cost, but not popular to the Amiga crowd that loved to upgrade, leaving the same Motorola 68000 CPU at 6.8 MHz as the main processor, a chipset that was at the time more than a decade and a half old, and keeping the 1 MB RAM as standard was hardly cutting edge, with the ECS graphics chipset also standing no chance against the rising tide of the VGA and Super VGA PC adapters. All that for the unique price of $499 or £399. To add insult to injury, Just a small segment of users decided to purchase the now renamed Amiga 600, but Commodore, just 6 months after its launch, cancelled it, leading the system to be considered today as Commodore's biggest and most puzzling failure. Finally, even mighty Jack made mistakes. Atari was the first ruler of the 16-bit throne, with the company releasing under new management with Jack Tramiel as owner and CEO, the world's first successful 16-bit computer. The actual first 16-bit computer ever was TI 44-9A by Texas Instruments, the Atari ST, and kickstarting the 16-bit revolution in 1985. But with the arrival of the much superior Amiga, things looked grim. Even though the initial model, Amiga 1000, failed to make even a dent in Atari's armor, the redesigned Amiga 500, thanks to Commodore UK's Batman pack for the Christmas of 1989, surpassed the Atari 520 ST sales in an unprecedented rhythm, reaching the top sales position by the end of 1990. It was obvious that an upgrade was needed for the ST line. Whilst the ST models were far superior to the Amiga when it came to music productions, thanks to the integrated MIDI interface, faster for professional applications, and with a level of PC compatibility more business-oriented, it was the computer games, just like today, that moved the industry. And on that, the ST was no match for the mighty Amiga. With superior graphics capabilities, smooth parallax scrolling, larger color palette, and on-screen colors, and way better sound playback, it was a behemoth. So, Jack demanded that the new model would be designed that would mark the first in a generally upgraded series of computers, improved in those specific areas. The STE, with E standing for Enhanced series, was effectively the same computers with the ST line, but upgraded in a way that tried to match the Amiga specs. 4096 colors palette upgraded from 520, 8-bit PCM digital stereo audio through 2 channels compared to the ST Range 3-channel YM2149 chipset, the same found in Spectrum 128 Plus. Audio output through stereo RCA jacks, in contrast to the ST Range's mono. The most significant change, though, was considered the hardware bleeder and the hardware scrolling capabilities, bridging the gap, in theory, between Atari and Amiga computers. Smaller improvements were also made, such as the ability to connect 4 joysticks in the 2 Atari standard ports using a multi-tap adapter, and the fact that the RAM chipsets were now plugged into slots and easily upgradable, just like in a PC, compared to the soldered-in chipsets of the ST models. Quite an upgrade, right? Coming out in November 1989, just in time for Christmas, at the price of £299 for the 520 STE 512KB model and £399 for the 1040 STE model with 1MB of RAM, and soon followed by the Heavy Pro model of Mega ST, priced at the reasonable for its characteristics £1,500, it seemed that the Amiga was in trouble, and it should have been. But the fact was that exactly because the Atari ST arrived first, most developers was now set in their ways. The new STE range, to make use of the newly upgraded hardware, had to make use of new, rewritten software for it. To make matters worse, there were compatibility problems. Even though the compatibility rate was 90%, quite high for the occasion, it was the reason behind that lost 10% that harmed the system, and that reason was the TOS. The TOS, or TOS, was a combination of OS and BIOS for the Atari ST computers, and the new 1.06 version, necessary for all the new functions, meant that if new software was developed to use the new features, it would shut out all the standard 520 ST owners. If the old techniques were used, well, in that case, there was no reason to own an ST. It also happened that in that 10% that just wouldn't cooperate with the new TOS were most of the classic games of that era, like Dungeon Master, Xenon, or even Gauntlet 2. The result? After an initial enthusiasm, the STE ended up as a niche product, with Atari keeping the original ST line pretty much alive all the way to 1993, when the entire ST and STE lines were discontinued, marking Atari's exit from the home computer market. Well, what do you think? Were you the lucky owners of one of those unfortunate machines? And if yes, were you happy with it? Or did you feel left out with a useless machine and broken promises? Tell us in our comments, and we'll see you again next week for another history lesson.